apologies. And now I'm going to officially call this meeting to order. So I'm calling this meeting to order, a meeting of appointments and ordinances at, it appears to be 6:07 on Monday, July 13th. I will do a roll call of members, and I received a call from Councilor Gordon saying she will be about 10 minutes late, so she will be joining us. Yeah. I can't, is it in this order? Would that be easier for you? Is that the order that you're writing things down in?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Okay,
It's whatever
great.
works for you.
All right. So Councilor Golub, I am present. Councilor Bullock
Here.
Councilor Gordon will be here soon. Councilor Webb here. Hello. And Councilor Williams.
Hello. Here.
Hello. All right. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes from May 13th and June 10th?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All right. We don't have to do a roll call vote because there's no one online. So all those in favor? All right. Public comment. So just to let you know, if anyone is recording, please let me know. Oh, okay. And I am pretty strict about public comment. I put on my phone, which I'll grab right now, and give everyone a maximum of 3 minutes. I hold that across the board, so please keep your comment to 3 minutes. I will call the public comment first, and then I will call for the public hearing. And I'm going to take the papers from there. People's names. Hello. So I don't have somebody come in the middle of the meeting, but I'm going to just ask you to say, I'm going to say Councilor Gordon.
I am present.
Present. Okay. Thank you.
Apologies for being late on the record.
3 minutes. So Carl Mayer up here.
I am Carl Meyer, 66 Fort Square. I'm speaking to you as a citizen, but also I am a journalist. I wanted to speak about changes to the public assemblies ordinance that have been proposed. And mostly the talk last time, and I was glad the recorder had this, I looked it up, was about the use of tear gas, but there was a very long bunch of excisions. Things that have been taken out of this ordinance proposal under 217.9 went from like lettered A through H just to like 4 letters, so 8 letters to 4 letters. And I'm concerned about the public's right to know and right to redress if there were it's about public assemblies and safety, and about people making mistakes and maybe costing life or costing the town something. It protects everybody when the public has a right to know. And I feel like some of our civil rights are under attack right now. So I want to read into the record some of the things that are being exercised under enforcement. And maybe somebody can comment about this later on. But anyway, this is under enforcement, and these are things that are being stricken that I learned. Any violation of this article constitutes an injury, and any person may institute proceedings for injunctive relief, declaratory relief, or writ of mandate in any court of competent jurisdiction to enforce this article. An action instituted under this paragraph shall be brought against the city of Greenfield, and if necessary, to effectuate compliance with this article, any other government agency subject to this article. C, in any civil, these are all being excised, in any civil or criminal action brought under any state or federal statute or constitutional provision arising out of the use of force by any law enforcement officer within the city of Greenfield, the prohibitions contained in section 217.9 of this article shall be deemed to be clearly established law of the city of Greenfield, and any violation of these prohibitions shall be considered unlawful. And that's to be excised. Go down to G, all violations of this article by any Greenfield police officer or any law enforcement officers shall be reported in writing, including the name of the offending Greenfield police officers or other law enforcement officers, to all City of Greenfield government agencies and departments which have any oversight responsibilities for the Greenfield Police Department, and to all state agencies which have any oversight responsibilities for law enforcement agencies or departments. H, also being excised, such reports shall be a matter of public record to be published at least annually by the City of Greenfield, and all such reports shall be made freely and available upon request by any member of the public. I'm concerned that we might be missing something here about the public's right to know and redress, and I just want it to be looked at and perhaps addressed about why this was in here in the beginning and why it's being excised. Thanks very much.
And next is Al Constantine.
Good evening. I'm Al Constantine from the Greenfield Landlords Business Association, and I've been a building owner in the town of Greenfield for 50 years. And I am here to talk about the proposed rental registry ordinance. Now, I have some great concerns about this, and so I wrote it up so I won't goof it up too bad. This ordinance, if passed, will put a tremendous strain on both the building owners and the Board of Health, both in time and money. The cost of the fees and time spent complying with this very cumbersome ordinance by building owners will be passed on to tenants in the form of higher rents. The Board of Health will need to hire additional help to administer this ordinance. Now, as for the registration, the city already has all necessary information for building owners in the forms they send out yearly, requesting both financial and physical information about our buildings. The tax assessor's office has complete records of all buildings in Greenfield. I myself requested and got a complete list, 25 pages, of all multifamily buildings in Greenfield by the Truth of Information law, and I had no problem getting it. The rental stock in Greenfield is for the most part in very good condition, and I do spend some time with many landlords looking at their places. To let your buildings fall into disrepair will just cost you money in the long run, and no one who's a building owner wants to lose money. There are a number of systems already in place to monitor apartment houses in apartment house conditions. The building department inspects exteriors and common areas of apartment buildings every 5 years. They do at least 150 per year, that number from the building department. The Board of Health responds to complaints of tenants and other from tenants. And as for subsidized apartments, Section 8 or other, those subsidized units are inspected every year by someone. Now, the last section on problem properties, I have a great problem with. Under this criteria set forth, problem properties, any building owner would fall into that category. The tenants call the police, or other tenants call about their spouses, they cause damage, they call the Board of Health. It says here we can only have 4 violations in a year. That could be in a week if you have a problem tenant. To publish a supposed problem property address and notify all tenants in the building there is a problem with the building will cause a good tenant to move out, and the good tenants, upon seeing the address, will not move in. This will cause unfair financial burden on the building owner, make it even harder for them to maintain the building. If the money's not coming in, you can't do anything. That's a cycle down. In conclusion, this is unnecessary and burdensome ordinance for both the building owners and the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just made it up.
You did. Perfect. Great. The next person is Davis Bannister.
Good evening, Davis Bannister. I'm here to speak in support of the ordinance to protect and affirm the gender of all individuals. I'll keep my comments brief because I don't think much should need to be said about the importance and value of protecting rights for all people in our community. These rights protect people on the LGBTQIA community as well as everybody else in our community. Recent history has shown us that rights that are not protected by law are vulnerable. And so I urge the city council to do everything in their power to protect the rights of everybody in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got that in 45 seconds.
I knew I wasn't going to need the timer.
Andrew
Vernon.
Vernon.
I'm Andrew Vernon from Greenfield. This past Saturday, I came up into the center of town at the request of some individuals. There was a vehicle that was 75% obstructing the crosswalk in front of the library across from the courthouse. I notified the police department about it. Action was taken. A couple hours later, I contacted another officer. No action was taken. Finally, about 1:15, the vehicle left the area. A couple of the individuals who were disabled at that intersection asked if I could come and speak to it. So at about 1:15, I went to the police department. They informed me that the way that supposedly this problem should be dealt with was with parking enforcement at 9 a.m. on Monday. I'll read to you the ordinance of the city of Greenfield, chapter 408, vehicles and traffic, section 408-2, removal of vehicles in violation. The vehicles found violating any of the provisions of this article may be moved by or under the direction of an officer and at the expense of the owner to the place where parking is allowed. So either the ordinance isn't being enforced, or the ordinance is wrong. Thanks.
Thank you. Arzacchio.
Hi, my name is Mark Zacchio, 130 Highland Avenue in Greenfield. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you taking the time. I'm speaking in opposition to the rental registry of an inspection. I spoke at the last meeting about this, but I just wanted to second what Al said from the LBA. I think it's duplicative to have this. We have a full health department. But if there are complaints, they come out immediately. I had one tenant who, when I purchased the property, they were a former tenant. They hadn't been paying rent. They did a whole bunch of damage in the unit. I had the building inspector there, the electrical inspector, the plumbing inspector, and the health department the next day. I had all sorts of things written up. It was obvious that it was a beautiful apartment. It was obvious that these things had been done by the tenant. But I had to fix them all. And there were timelines, there were inspections. Otherwise, it would get fined, or I'm not sure what the actual consequences were, but they just did it. But it seems to me that process happened quickly, effectively. So if someone actually had a complaint that was legitimate, then that process would have worked for them as well. And so and in terms of registering all of our units, again, those are done through the tax rolls. Every 5 years, we have to fill out paperwork saying what units we have, how much we're charging. It's quite a bit of information that most businesses don't have to fill out. For instance, like a McDonald's or Wendy's, they don't fill out how much money they make or what they pay, what their expenses are. That's all private. But in this case, we are required to do that by the state. There's also a state inspection and condition and inventory report that we're required to fill out when a new tenant moves in. And then they have, I think, 30 days to make any changes. If there's anything that's broken, they find a window that doesn't open or a screen that's missing, they simply write that up, send it to you, and then you're required to fix that, or it's noted. They don't care about it. So I just think that we have a system that works. May not work for every single unit, but for the vast majority, it works well. And I think we want to be seen as a city that is business friendly. So people want to buy
Thank you.
things.
Mark Guillaume.
Yep, Mark Young, landlord also. So I'm going to continue where Mark left off, the idea that we have a system that works. And what happens when you have a problem landlord? My understanding of the rental registry ordinance, which I don't think is necessary, is about trying to fix problems with problem landlords. You might know about Montague City Road, just when you start, there's kind of a junkyard there sitting. The health department is aware of that for years. That person racked at least $45,000 worth of fines because they weren't following through on what the health department was saying to. But the problem is the health department didn't have enough legal budget to actually sue them and take to court and do all the processes. So one issue is just the health department doesn't have the resources. Also, there's something called the receivership program. Do people know about the receivership program? I don't know. Okay, so I was a receiver for several years. I toured at least 5 derelict buildings with the city. And then I said, yes, I'll take 2 of these. And the city has to start the process of getting it to the state so they can be taken and either can just get fixed with people still in the property, or it's with nobody there, somebody can go fix it. 2 years, I've heard nothing from the city. Basically, the city doesn't have the resources to take the next step. So I think this ordinance is unnecessary because there are already all the different parts in the health department to move landlords along. And then if the landlord refuses to do the work, fines start getting levied and the landlord doesn't care, then the receivership system already exists to basically get a contractor there and fix the problems, even if the landlord says, I'm not going to do this. But the city doesn't have the legal budget to make that happen. To that extent, the idea in this ordinance of a $30 per year charge per each unit, I'd be in support of that. If that helps deal with problem landlords, if that money goes, it's just added to my tax bill for my properties every year, and that goes to the legal fund for the health department for them to be able to continue to do the things that they want to do. People in the health department, and I talk to them, they say, we just don't have the legal budget to actually get the receivership program going for these problem landlords. So I think all the parts are in place. There's just not enough money. Thanks.
Thank you. Susan Morgaptic.
Thank you. Susan Morgastic, 45 Forest Avenue. You have heard my hand speech several times now, so I'm not going to do it again. I would just like to point out that this is on the housing ordinance. We have worked extremely hard to develop an ordinance that we think will meet the needs citywide. One of the issues that we in Housing Greenfield found was that no one had a list, including the fire department, the police department, the assessor's office, that agreed with each other in terms of how many units there were, and how many apartments there are. That's both a health and safety issue right from the get-go. If there are 4 apartments in a building and the fire department thinks there are only 3 and there's a fire, this is a real issue. So one of the things we're trying to do with this rental registry ordinance is to make sure that everybody has the same information and the information is accurate. In terms of health issues, Mark Young's comments, there are a number of them that I would really support. But I think one of the things that we really need to deal with is making sure that all of our apartments are safe and that the weight of making them safe does not fall on the tenants. And this part of this effort is to try to make that happen, that we would make sure that, people talk about, there are tenant laws and all that kind of thing. In a housing market like the one we have right now, people are afraid to complain. I think we have some excellent landlords here who are saying, you call me, I'll take care of it. We also have some landlords that if you call me, they start to threaten. tenant. What we're trying to do is set up a situation where the tenant is able to get an inspection on a regular basis and to be able to have that be something that they can count on and that they are not put in a situation where they are put in jeopardy. That's what this is about. I ask you to move it along to the full council, and I thank you very much for your time.
That's everyone for public comment who's in person. Are you able to see who's, yeah?
You got EJ Baker in precinct 6, and somebody else just added, and Molly Merritt in precinct 7.
Okay, great. EJ Baker?
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna give everyone 3 minutes, so I might speak up loudly if that comes, so you can hear that, but thank you for speaking, and yeah, EJ?
No worries, thank you. My name is EJ Baker. I live in Greenfield in precinct 6. I'll go quickly. I have 3 things I want to touch on. First of all, I want to voice my strong support for the gender protection ordinance. I'm really excited after last year's resolution that we're able to move forward to kind of codify this as an ordinance. I'm a proud member of Greenfield's queer community, and I think it's just really imperative that we do all we can as a community to protect the rights of trans and gender nonconforming people, as well as the healthcare providers who are treating them, especially in this era of really increasing existential threats from the federal level and from other states. Secondly, I'd like to voice my support for the proposed public assembly ordinance, especially the tear gas ban. This to me is a no-brainer. Tear gas is banned in international warfare, and we all assume or maybe hope that that would never come into play in Greenfield. I think it's really important to kind of codify those best practices for our local law enforcement. And finally, I'd also like to voice my support for the rental registry. I believe we need it to ensure quality housing for local renters. And it's clear that the processes that are already in place aren't sufficient, since there are still tenants who are suffering with poor conditions. And as Susan just mentioned, fear retaliation if they report those issues. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And Molly Merritt, you said? Yeah, Molly Merritt?
Hi, not to sound like a broken record, I will keep this quick, but I'm here to speak in favor. Hold on 1 second, please. I'm here to speak in favor of the rental registry, the gender protection ordinance, and the tear gas ban. And I'm have someone demanding my attention, so I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have one more, Stephanie Close in precinct 8.
Okay, Stephanie Duclos?
Hi, Stephanie Duclos, precinct 8. I think you all know where I live. I think a lot of the changes that you're making are arbitrary and capricious, and I'm going to leave it at that. Some of the ordinance changes really go against the Constitution, and I think that I'm in support of having a registry, but all of the stuff that you're making the landlords do may in fact actually harm the tenants more than you think. I want you to be cautious about when you put these ordinances and these bylaws and these resolutions forward, that it isn't just a social issue that you're trying to solve on a national level. Have you reached out to how the residents actually feel about a lot of the stuff, or are you making these based on what counselors are bringing forward on their own personal views on any resolution or ordinances that you feel like are better for the community and better for the town, city, I mean? So I caution you. There are some things that really violate the Constitution and some of the stuff you proposed. So I ask that you really consider taking some of these off the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yep,
Yeah.
Adrian, sorry, I just lost it. Craig Williams.
Okay, thank you. Adrian Craig Williams?
Hi, yeah, Adrian, 24 Temple Ave, precinct 5. I'd like to speak in favor of the gender protection ordinance and in favor of the tear gas ban and in favor of the rental registry. I am also a proud member of the queer community and I love Greenfield, and I'm so glad we have passed other excellent things, and I think having the ordinance will be great, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else online? Okay. So. Another public comment? Okay. So we're going to move on to the public hearing. I'm going to open the public hearing to amend the City of Greenfield Code, Chapter 117, Public Assemblies at 3:62 p.m. And the one person is, write your name is 6:32. Thank you. I also came back from 2 weeks of vacation with camping with my son 2 days ago. So I'm adjusting and I appreciate your grace with that. The one person whose name is there is Gary Selden from, you can say where you're from.
Hello, Gary Selden, Trevor Court. I emailed you all sadly just late yesterday, and so I'm really here just to highlight those points. The details are in the email if you want to consider them. At the very beginning of your draft, the definition of First Amendment assembly, I think, has a problem at the end, in that it says that it's for the purpose of expressing views on any political, social, or religious subjects, and I suggest a more general on any First Amendment protected views. So please consider that. I found two bits of language from past ordinances, or at least a draft ordinance, that I think also ought to be worked into the beginning. I'll just read them. One is the rights of individuals and groups to exercise free speech, assembly, association, and to petition their government for redress of grievances are essential to a free and informed democracy and representative government. I think that's framing that's really important. And the other one is essentially protective. No time, place, or manner restriction regarding a First Amendment assembly shall be used on the content of the beliefs expressed or anticipated to be expressed during the assembly, or on factors such as the attire, appearance of persons participating or expected to participate in an assembly, nor may such restrictions favor non-First Amendment activities over First Amendment activities. That's the gist of it. Regarding Article 2, your added crowd control measures. I'm the content represented there, I'm generally in favor of, in fact, strongly in favor of, but I have essentially what I think of as a structural concern. It's like, and maybe you've already done this and I just haven't seen it, but I immediately just think of the police department's use of force policies and probably other things in their policies. And is it simpatico with that, or is it in contradiction? And I just want to know that it is. Before going forward with it, which is why I suggest just deleting the whole section, which I don't think you want to do, but that's why I suggested that. And then inside of that are a number of things that are further down in the weeds that I think in reading it 3 or 4 times, I couldn't really understand what the intent was. And when I analyzed it just using logic, it didn't work. So I think there's more work to be done there. And I tried to lay that out in what I sent you in the email. So please consider those things. Thanks for your work.
Thank you. Anyone else for the public hearing? No names online?
Nope.
Okay. So I am going to close this public hearing at 6:36 p.m. And we'll move on to motions. The first motion is for appointments and reappointments. Can somebody please read that? It's on page 19.
Order number fiscal year 27-008. The City Council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council, pursuant to Charter Section 210, affirms the following appointments and reappointments by the mayor. Agricultural Commission, Maeve Dillon, term to expire December 31st, 2027. To fill the remainder of term of Elizabeth Nett, who resigned February 5th, 2026. Conservation Commission, Emily Bolduc, term to expire December 31st, 2029. Zoning Board of Appeals, Eric Green, term to expire December 31st, 2027, and Charles Roberts, term to expire December 31st, 2028. Both are moving from alternate to full-time members, majority vote required.
I think, oh, you just read it. Yeah, second, whatever.
That's okay.
Any discussion? We thank them for their service.
Yeah,
as
there's
always.
a lot of people in the room right now. If anyone's serving on boards or commissions, or really grateful to all the people.
And if anyone wants to, there's always more room. My sister.
Wait, hold on, I couldn't. Can you finish that statement? What did you say?
Just saying, if anyone wants to serve on a commission or board and they aren't currently, or they have extra free time and would like another one, there's always vacancies and we could use everyone's help.
Thank you for everyone's service.
I'll be abstaining. Emily's my sister.
Okay, that works. Any other discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
You did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody except for me.
So the next motion that we're going to go to is the motion to amend the City of Greenfield Code Chapter 217 Public Assemblies, and that is on page 26. Can someone please read that?
Order number fiscal year 27-009, City Council move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council amend the code of the City of Greenfield as written in the strike through attached here to Chapter 217 Assemblies Public, and further amends the index of the code, and further that non-substantive changes to the numbering of the ordinance be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the code of the City of Greenfield, majority vote required.
Second.
I'd like to speak first on this. I'm going to actually ask that this be tabled to our next meeting. And the reason for that, I want to say after I address folks in the community's concerns. The history of this is that when we were doing the City Council is charged with every 10 years reviewing all of the ordinances. And so I was the chair of the subcommittee last year, and we went through the ordinances that apply to more public facing ordinances. And when we saw this one, it was, if you look back at the original version that's currently in our code, it is incredibly hard to understand. It says that the Board of License commissioners will have certain policies that don't actually exist because it's very cumbersome to do what the current ordinance asks them to do. So it's not really user friendly. And I wanted to make sure that our public assemblies ordinance is something that supports everyone in the city and makes it as easy as possible to engage in First Amendment activity. So that's the intent of the changes. And I've looked, and we can't go back and forth right now, but I want to address concerns. I've looked at the concerns from Gary Sullivan, and I made some edits to take those into account. I don't feel like there's anything, it made sense. And it would be helpful to receive the concerns in writing so that we can look at those, if you'd be able to send those. And the reason that I'm actually going to ask to table this to the next time is that I am concerned that the definitions of pepper spray and tear gas are not clear enough. It seems that there are actually multiple definitions out there of what pepper spray is and what tear gas is. And I've recently just circumstantially heard an expert on chili peppers say all pepper spray is tear gas, not all tear gas is pepper spray. And I think, and talking to Councillor Brown, who brought forward, so I brought forward the first part of there's two articles here. One is on updating our current ordinance, and the other is on use of crowd control. And when I talked to her about that, she said, well, the intent is that the pepper spray be used in an acute situation. Like I was in a place with bears, and we were walking around with bear spray to be able to create safety with the bear. but that tear gas was something that could be dispersed into the community and be dangerous to many more people than the person that the police officer is having an altercation with. When I looked at the definitions, it says pepper spray is these like capsicum, I think, or capsaicin derived things, and tear gas are these chemicals. However, some people are saying, an expert that I heard that is saying that the plant-derived elements are actually considered tear gas. So I want to make sure that the definitions are clear, and that if our intent is to allow the police officers to continue to use the thing that's used acutely and to not use the thing that's dispersed and hurts bystanders, that our ordinance says that. And so I talked to Councillor Brown about that last night. We had a long conversation about this, and she's going to do some more research and bring forward an updated language. And in the meantime, I want to make sure that I'm taking into account, I can't promise to please everyone, but these are legitimate concerns to make sure that the Public Assembly's ordinance does what it's intended to do, which one of the things it's intended to do, one of several things, is to protect free First Amendment assembly. So in the meantime, we can look at those edits as well. How does that? Thoughts? I did not expect to learn this about pepper spray and tear gas, but I don't want naturally derived stuff to be going out and dispersed into the community either. So that's the intent. And I'll just ask one other thing. I know that this, to just assuage concerns from the community, the attorney did look at our current language, and Councillor Brown did in fact make the updates to reflect Attorney Quinn's recommendations.
I see that Councillor Brown has her hand up. I don't know if we can ask her to comment on this, and she authored the original draft.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, that's okay. So just so you know, we can call on below a quorum of, I can call on below a quorum, and Councillor Garrett is here to talk about the rental registry, which is 6 people. I don't think I can I don't feel comfortable calling on Councillor Brown. Because that's 6 and we are 13. So Councillor Brown, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to call on you because I want to make sure that we're under a quorum.
For the purpose of obeying open meeting law.
Just the purpose of obeying open meeting law. So I thank you.
Thanks anyway.
Get out of here, John.
No,
Sorry.
all the landlords haven't shown up to give their perspective, and I didn't want to respect them, I might. And I do.
Yeah, okay.
Step out for a few minutes.
Oh, would that actually work?
No, I'm not going to call on more than a quorum of councillors. So Councillor Brown gave me her thumbs up. I'm not going to call on more than one.
I would have done that.
Well, and I think that alone actually makes me, I mean, your reasoning makes sense. We've been talking about this for so long that part of me is like, sure, let's just keep talking about it longer, even though I know there's also like very much a need to get to resolution on this, but also so that we can resolve those questions and so that we can hopefully hear more from Councillor Brown about whatever she was going to say. I'm fine tabling this.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't understand why this is so many months long. I'm so tired of talking about it.
I understand.
We have to get it right.
That's fair.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Okay. I don't know that we do need to vote to table, but we will just in case. So I'm going to move to table. All those in favor of tabling this to our next meeting?
I second your motion.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All those in favor of moving to table? Okay, thank you. Go to the beginning of the agenda and find out what page we are on next. Okay. So the next item is a proposal to propose a new ordinance to require elected and appointed officials to review and attest the accuracy of property record cards on their own properties. This came through the Board of Assessors, through the mayor's office. Is anyone here from the Board of Assessors who would like to speak on this? Okay, I don't think there's no one. Discussion on this.
Makes sense?
It's pretty straightforward.
Yes, and there was something that was not, that didn't work for Quinn.
Did we get an email about that today? Or
No, just from packeting file.
Oh.
Maybe I read it wrong. Proposed ordinance needs more discussion regarding oversight of the members of the 50 boards. Rolling it over a few years might be necessary for board members.
I suggest you speak up a bit so that.
Oh, sorry. This is in an email to Assessor Geisman and Clerk Scott from Mayor Disorder. As I approve this, I think the proposed ordinance needs more discussion regarding oversight of the members of the 50 boards. Rolling it in over a few years might be necessary for board members. There are so many folks that I am thinking of who have no idea how to find their record card. And then the ethics training is actually a conflict of interest according to Quinn, but I don't know what that means.
It's interesting.
I think it is the conflict of interest training.
No, what?
I think it's literally the conflict of interest.
Oh, yeah.
It would be helpful to hear from the assessors about the point of this and what are they looking for and why, et cetera. I mean, it doesn't sound ominous to me. It seems like, you know, we want to keep it, we want transparency, et cetera, and so on, and that's all fine and dandy. But I would like to, I wish Jim Geisman was here to talk about this.
Yeah, I like the intent. Did you just have your hand up?
No, I will. But.
Okay. I like the intent of this, and as you all know, I'm a real stickler for how do we enforce this and making sure it's really thorough. And I have a lot of questions about enforcement. Like, it's straightforward in intent, I think, but I don't see anything about enforcement, and I don't like to create our ordinances without anything to enforce them or implement them.
Yeah, it seems like something that would be like a voluntary action of elected officials.
Which is different than something that's required by law.
Yeah, I second the request to have Jim or someone else from the Board of Assessors come talk to us about this. I think that makes a lot of sense. Not least to clarify, like at some places in the email exchange in the packet, it says elected officials, and in some places it says elected and appointed officials. And like, that's a difference between a small number of us and a potentially vast number of people. So yeah, I think that there are a number of things that would be great to clarify and just sort of get a really clear proposed motion on this that then we can actually talk about with the Board of Assessors. So that'll be helpful.
The page 37 actually clarifies the purpose of it.
Right.
Purpose.
Purpose, background, and summary.
Right, which is very different than enforcement and implementation.
Right.
I don't see enforcement or implementation here. I see the intent. I don't see how this happens or how also that's funded.
Is it something, well, there's a 73% non-finish rate of the conflict of interest training.
Okay. How is that possible? They won't let us through unless we watch the thing and we have to watch the thing. It's like
78% non-compliance rate we had for this year for ethics.
Maybe it's just us.
I will say that I received multiple reminders to complete the training when I had already completed it.
Yeah.
So I do wonder about some of the data here. But
Yeah, this feels like a process thing. Like, I don't know. Could you stick the card in our little folder when we get elected?
well, and there's also, sorry, can I?
Go for it.
It seems like there's also a little bit of a, I don't know, a mismatch or a like implicit thing here that maybe should be explicit, that like I can validate, I can verify the accuracy of my property record card. It's someone else's job to do the math about whether I'm paying the appropriate amount of real estate taxes. Like, I don't know, like,
yeah,
I can't actually say, yes, I am doing that. Like that would actually be to someone in the city to do that, right? So reviewing the record card for the sake of transparency totally makes sense to me. Like we should all be doing that. Let's all be accurate about the property taxes we're paying and do what we need to keep the city running. But yeah, I think we just need more detail on a number of pieces of this.
Yeah. So I think that it would be helpful. I know that I will email the Board of Assessors, my questions. If other folks have questions, I know it always helps me to have the questions in advance to be able to think them through, and I imagine that would help them as well. So if you have questions, to send them to them, and Tammy, if you can please invite Jim or someone else from the Board of Assessors to come to the next meeting. I think we talk about this next when we have someone to ask your questions of. Does that sound good? Okay. So the next item for discussion is the proposed LGBTQI protection ordinance.
Excuse me, Catherine, Chair,
No,
I just wanted to let you know the assessors meeting is.
Speak out. I don't allow people to speak out outside of public comment. And I do invite people to email. Feel free to email concerns, questions. I welcome those, and it'll give me more time to digest to receive those by email. Okay, so this is the first time this is coming to this ordinance, to this committee. I'll share that there's been a team of people working on this for the last year since we passed the trans protection resolution about a year ago. And I would welcome questions about it.
Not that I wasn't what the fuck how long we gotta go through, but our reaction sometimes.
And I've never needed to, this is something we thought about when we passed the hybrid meetings ordinance as well. I've never needed to remove someone from a meeting online, but if people keep disrupting, that would have to happen. So please, I want you to be able to participate and hear. So please don't unmute yourself. Thank you. Yeah.
Is that what was happening just now?
Yes. Everyone else is muted and unmuted. So
You don't like some of the definitions.
okay, we worked a lot on the definitions that I'm curious.
So I think the definition, for example, of gender, section 1 or 2B.
Can you actually hold on one second? Yeah. Because I'm going to open my Google Doc and that'll make it easier for me to take notes. Okay, which one?
Section 2 definitions, subsection B, gender.
Yeah.
So I think it's doing 3 things at once. And I think it weakens the structure. So I think if we define gender solely based on masculinity and femininity, I feel like we're accidentally excluding things like agender people. And gender expression does not have to be strictly between masculinity and femininity. There are other ways that it can be done. And I think a lot of this is, it explains why these things matter, but not what problem it's trying to solve. That isn't already codified by state law.
Okay,
And then subsection C, gender affirming healthcare.
hold on one sec.
Oh, sorry.
Where, okay, hold on. Okay, yeah,
That just by the gender affirming healthcare, by tying it to gender dysphoria exclusively, I feel like that also weakens the structure, because how do you measure relating to without requiring documentation of a diagnosis? Does it include like preventative care? Does it include follow-up care? Is it exclusive? Like, do you have to disclose that to be protected legally? What does it include things like reconstructive surgery for a woman who's had double mastectomies, things like that? Does it include things like hair implants or cisgender men getting testosterone after surgery? Basing it solely on gender dysphoria, I think is a risk that it could kind of weaken the foundation of the ordinance and make it.
hold on, I'm trying to transcribe what you're saying.
Sorry.
Okay, so I've got to, like, you're saying reconstructive surgery for double mastectomy or testosterone after surgery for a cis man. What was the next thing you said there?
Basically, there's just I gotta rewind. Sorry.
It's okay.
Applying it strictly to gender dysphoria might actually weaken the foundation.
Okay.
It might. I agree with where the ordinance is trying to land, but I'm worried if we don't get it right in the definitions that we're gonna have a weak foundational corner.
Okay. Great. Any, I just want to hear anything else.
I was curious, because a lot of this is already codified in state law. Why some of those definitions weren't chosen?
State definitions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're already, like, gender identity is already a protected class. I'm just curious, because I'm not saying it's not worth doing, absolutely not, but I'm just curious what the reasoning was.
Okay. There wasn't an explicit reasoning for not using the state's definitions. And I'm curious to do more research into that. In terms of the outside of the definitions, what the ordinance does, it applies to the operations of Greenfield, and our state law doesn't do that. So that's why the aim of this is to really apply it locally, not just take on nationwide or global issues, but to apply it here and to protect our employees and our residents here. But that's a great question about state definitions and about the other definitions as well.
I'm just wondering a little bit if these aren't one level too high.
One level too high.
Because if we have language that does the same thing with fewer individual words, it could change the entire meaning of the sentence.
Yeah.
I just want to get it right.
Yeah, I want to get the definitions right too. Yeah. Okay. Does that feel complete?
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Counselor Webb?
Yeah, I feel like in terms of gender affirming healthcare, like I do think it is a catch-all, and I do think women getting reconstructive surgery after a double mastectomy is gender affirming care, and a cis man getting testosterone after a procedure is gender affirming care. Getting a boob job is gender affirming care. Dyeing your hair is gender affirming care. And so I don't think, like, I think everyone suffers from a gender dysphoria if we're saying that gender is this constructed thing that gives meaning to masculine and femininity and whatever else, then like so and so is getting their hair dyed and implants and Botox and whatever, so they feel more feminine, so they can give meaning to their femininity. I think it's the whole thing. And in terms of like what gender affirming healthcare encompasses and why it should, I mean, I think gender dysphoria, are you saying that gender dysphoria narrows it too much?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think we could broaden our thinking on it and it would be fine.
I think if we tie it directly to gender dysphoria, then only the things that are available under the definition of gender dysphoria will count. But nothing else. If I'm a woman over 50, but I'm not yet, my birthday's on Saturday, I'm 34.
Don't be defensive.
Things like the estrogen patches and the estrogen pills and that kind of stuff.
Don't have to wait
That's-
till 50.
Listen, I can't wait to turn 50. I'm gonna have a super.
Wait. Gender.
But that's the thing. Those kinds of medical things aren't necessarily related to gender dysphoria. Right. I think you're saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. Like I
Are we
I've heard
able
this
to
said that
add a definition of gender dysphoria in our own language?
What I'd be
Is that
great
like-
is it necessary would
Okay.
be my question?
Yeah.
Like
If we argue to expand your brain, does that work?
I mean, I think there's probably just like slight wording changes that, and I think taking out gender dysphoria is one of them, and like, being careful about the gender definition itself. Like this definition makes sense to me, like because I see where it's trying to go, but I agree that it doesn't get there probably in the.
I would also
most useful
say, I would also say that gender dysphoria should have its own definition. And it includes things like, gender dysphoria is not a disorder, things like that, so that we really codify what is and is not like. Obviously, it's very clear that this is about like gender identity and non-conforming gender expression and things like that. And so I really want to make sure that gender dysphoria, when it's defined, includes things like, this is a fairly normal and common thing, and really makes it stand out as something that isn't necessarily medical, clinical.
Yeah, I feel like the aim is protecting gender expression.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, I want to note that a lot of this language was trying to encompass intersex individuals, which I know nothing about. And so I don't know if that also affects why the language is the way the language is.
And I'll say, I only like to define things in an ordinance that are used further down. I just did a search. Nowhere else in the ordinance are we using the term gender dysphoria. So I don't know that we need to use it. I don't like pathologizing gender. Like I don't actually know enough to speak on but I'm willing to do more work on these definitions and get them to a place that is solid and broad and as broad as as necessary to
To make it
within the law
enforceable
and
and
within the
useful
law.
ordinance. Yeah. Yeah.
Period, yeah. I was gonna, either that or adding something
Can
about
you
gender expression.
Can you speak to the whole, I'm not calling you out, I'm just like, it was just a clarifying question.
Well, I suppose it was.
Yeah.
So I was saying if there was a period right after supportive nature.
Where
In the
which
paragraph
clause?
that deals with, that says, that ends in
2C.
2C. So in the very last line, preventative, rehabilitative, or supportive nature, period. Does that take care of it?
I think it's related to gender.
And
But I
it
don't-
be related to
Gender expression.
Yeah, gender expression,
Yeah,
whatever.
gender expression.
Yeah.
I do think that there's still validity in checking if there are statewide used definitions.
Agreed.
Let's look at that. But yeah,
I think Mass General Law 151B.
151B.
I think that one might only apply to bathrooms, but it does exist. Short of actually deep diving. No research. Also, it might be prudent to add, I don't know how much control we have over this, but healthcare plans offered by city employees should make sure that if the state law changes for any reason, that our healthcare coverage plans continue to provide insurance for that.
yeah, this language,
That's tricky.
this language, I don't,
I mean, ideally, absolutely.
Ideally.
this was one of the last things that we added in, and I don't know, I mean, I'm willing to be proven wrong. I don't know that we can get more binding than this. Shall endeavor when possible to prioritize health insurance plans that cover gender affirming care. Like, I don't know that we can, that it's within our power. Yeah.
We can't guarantee to provide something that that tragically may not continue to exist. Like, we can't have an ordinance that says we will guarantee a kind of, healthcare plan that we may possibly not be able to, even though that sucks.
Yeah. Or that is, within feasibility. I don't think that we can do that. But if you want to do more research and you've come up with language that is better, I would love to hear it. Yeah. Any other discussion on this?
I will say, good work. Actually, very encompassing.
Well, it's been a real team effort of many people working on this for a long time till we were ready to do this. And I did look at laws that have been passed in other cities in Massachusetts that this is taking some from.
This might be a really nitpicky technicality. That's what I'm here for.
That's what we're all here.
Section 4D. Any anti-bias training for city employees shall consider gender identity, etc. I think the goal there is anti-bias training has to include these things, which I completely agree with, and it should. My nitpicky concern would be that there are some anti-bias trainings that may be required by the state or professional associations or something that we don't actually, I don't know. There's a sort of any versus all question that I have about this. Like, there may be trainings people have to take that don't include these things that we may not be able to mandate that they do. We can mandate that that other training then be provided, which I think we should, but.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You can always add training to the list of things that people need to be trained on.
And that we definitely should do, but we just can't. I'm just saying, we can't mandate that, if the state's anti-bias training doesn't include it, that the state's anti-bias training has to add it somehow. You know what I mean?
But can we as a city add it?
Yes.
We can
supplement it.
We can, so then supplementation,
right?
We did go back and forth about this language, and it is broader than it could be, meaning that we could legislate that, I don't know if it's within our jurisdiction, but a possible thing that could have been written there is everyone must have the training. And we didn't say that because there's budgetary constraints, and we didn't know if that would be a feasible thing for us to mandate that the city provides anti-bias training. So we're saying that any training that is provided has to include it.
That's what I think we can.
Yeah, no, I hear it. And you're taking it to another step of okay, given that they may be from the state and it may not include it, then do we say it must be supplemented? There's a question answered there.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we follow this road until we get the answer?
Yeah.
What trainings we have right now, and then how much it would cost and what the feasibility is before all this happens?
Yeah.
How do where's, give me the map.
Yeah. So I'm thinking multiple things. One is that I think I feel like my brain wants I have a hard time thinking and strategizing here with I'm much more introverted in my thinking about words. And the other, so I'm like, my preference would be to go and say these are different pieces and then to delegate after this, but we can't talk. I can't talk to multiple of you and delegate outside of this. So that's not a possibility. I'm just thinking, I'm sharing my thinking out loud. And I'm going to pause my thinking and pass it to you. What's your thought on this?
So my question would be, wouldn't human resources know what kind of training is required in all the various departments, or am I being idealistic?
Both of those could be true.
I think both of
those are true.
It seems like that would be a place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to pause, I'm going to think this through for a moment. I am going to take this question of anti-bias training back to the team. I think that, and I'll just say that the team, there's Counselor Wondolowski, we've just been
Because Quinn would be.
Quinn, yeah. So I'll ask them. Would you be willing to look at state? You know what?
Yes.
I think that this is within I can do this. I think that there's two questions. One's about definitions and one's about anti-bias training, and to not violate open meeting law. I'm going to take responsibility for actually all of these pieces. And I think that they're pretty simple, actually. And if I feel like I need help from the committee, I will ask one person for help. And we'll come back to you with answers next time. Yeah. Does that sound like a good process?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Any other discussion on this?
Thank you all for the work on it.
Thank you for your nitpicking. I appreciate it. Okay. We need nitpicking. We're talking about law. Like,
Exactly.
Let's bring it.
Right.
It's good. Okay. So moving on to the next item, which is
Data centers.
data centers.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I didn't know this was gonna be on this agenda.
I was also quite confused. You could say it doesn't. It says for the Economic Development Committee, and it all sounds like it's all about zoning. So you
I
could
was
just
not
say this
sure why it
goes
was
to economic development and not
I
us.
think they weren't sure whether we were doing it as an EDC kind of thing or whether we could do it as an ordinance.
I mean, we could, if President Wondolowski wanted this let me just pause.
Sure.
You were not violating quorum from me asking you. I wasn't able to be committee chairs. Do you know why this is?
I was also not a committee chair.
Okay.
I would have suggested this go on EDC because it's a zoning.
It is also on EDC, so we'll be here tomorrow too.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about this tomorrow.
Okay.
So you guys do whatever you will, but
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too. I looked at this, and said, this is not my language. I don't.
Well,
building and zoning.
The language could be made into an ordinance is what I think the thought process was.
But zoning.
The zoning still has to go through.
All the zoning ordinances are ordinances. We have decided that they are under the purview of EDC.
Yeah.
And so I could, but it's not.
and by all means, if you want.
No.
If anybody has any thoughts.
I
have thoughts, but you'll hear them tomorrow.
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah, we're gonna send this discussion to EDC.
Love it.
Is that good? All right.
Great.
And thank you. And thank you on EDC for talking about it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the rental registry. Would you like to come up?
Sure.
Yeah.
They're shouting at you from a distance.
Yeah, I know that'd be better. Thank you.
Nobody ever sits in the front row. I don't know where that's.
What's up?
Nobody ever sits in the front row. We're not scary.
Speak for yourself.
The aura of office is really.
I've had COVID before this. What do you mean? I'm scary of the.
Are you scary? Are you scared?
I'm terrified.
Okay,
Terrified.
sorry.
Also constantly tired, so the terror is like slightly below.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see you.
Rocks in your garden.
What was that?
I said I saw you building a pile of rocks in your garden.
They remind me of like little cairns, like on the mountains, you
That's
know?
why you're so tired.
Guys,
It's definitely not the toddler. It's not the toddler at all. It's the
only a little, but it's lovely to see everybody and thank you for looking at this again. And so I think probably the most useful thing is to kind of explain what's different about this version of the ordinance compared to what you've seen in the past. And the long story short, this is a smaller version of the ordinance. It has less of an impact. There's less to it, although the substantive kind of details are the same, except for the really big detail that there aren't mandatory inspections in this version. And the reason for that is, so you should rewind, way back last summer, Susan Morgaptic and I met with Michael Crow, the health director, And we wanted to make sure that this idea that, Susan had been putting forward and, Counselor Brown had, been discussing with her, was something the health department had the capacity to do. And so we talked to Michael Thoreau, and he had, he had a lot of feedback, but his most important bit of feedback was he didn't want to have the health code explicitly referenced as what the inspections were there to make sure were going to happen. We have a lot of units in the city. Yeah. So we have the health code is broad, very, very broad. We have a lot of non-compliant units in the city. Many non-compliant units. And so his fear was if we put the health code explicitly into the ordinance, what we'd be at risk of doing is effectively doing damage that we don't want to do, which is kicking people out of their homes because the units become uninhabitable because some small detail, oh, look, there's no GFCI outlet, but the walls are horsehair plaster. So we got to bust open this wall. Now it's going to cost the landlord $10,000. They'll just shut the place down. And then you have a homeless crisis when before you had the GFCI outlet in the bathroom. And so GFCI outlets are like for the water bath. And so the lawyers spent 2 months looking at this, which is why I haven't seen you guys the last 2 months. And they came back and they put the health code back in under the inspections piece. And so under the mandatory inspections piece. And so I have not had a chance to talk to Michael Thoreau yet, very busy, but I talked to Susan Wargaftik and the mayor, and we basically decided it made more sense to try to put forward the registry, the self-inspections component, the fines, the entire structure minus the mandatory inspections piece, rather than trying to figure out a way to do the whole thing and not get anything done at all. And so I'm going to do my damnedest to come back to you folks with a mandatory inspections kind of appendix to this ordinance. But in the meantime, I think it's really important to get the ball rolling. It's been, again, more than a year. There's 8 different versions of this, and that's not a reason to do it. It can go through 20 as long as it becomes a better law, but that's the difference. And so does that make sense, folks? Yeah, okay. And so, yeah, I don't want to basically betray Michael Thoreau and the conversation we had last year by putting forward something that would violate what his lines were. And so this one, again, doesn't have that piece. Everything else is just that's different from last time is things that the lawyers put in. There's a reference to the CMR as the health code, as the authority by which the health department can do this. It's true. That's the whole reason the health department has the power to do this. I'm happy to kind of go through the ordinance. If you folks need me to go through kind of each section, explain why they're there. I'm happy to address some of the concerns from the landlords here had, if that would be more helpful, or I can just answer questions, whatever you guys think would be the most useful. You want to run down? You want me to? Do you have questions?
A couple questions.
Sure.
It sounds like the change addressed my concerns that I spoke to, I think you and Susan about this with having a lot of like non-compliant units in my.
Right. And help in Michael's.
Yeah, and I would like, we don't need a housing crisis in precinct 9.
Right.
So I'm grateful that you found that and fixed that. And then I guess, does this change, am I mixing things up that some of this that's getting paid for goes into, no, that's the elderly and disabled fund that pays for the blight housing, like that guy was talking about, right?
Yeah.
Receivership program. Never mind. Okay. So these charges go to pay for the work that's being done. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll go into the general fund, but the idea is it will support, the inspections that will happen anyway.
Yeah.
It's a $30 fee per unit, which comes out to $2 per month per year per unit in the apartment. So $2 passed on to the tenants I think is worth kind of the other benefits of this ordinance, which is, just because it's on my mind. One of the things that some of the folks that were here earlier were saying is this data is already available. It is not. These departments were not speaking to each other in a way where this was being expressed in an intelligible way. Data is, you can have data, but if it's messy, you're not going to be able to get anything useful out of it. And so part of what I really think is valuable about this is it creates a centralized database that everybody by law ordinance has access to and are required to have access to. So I think that will be helpful. Again, if anyone else has questions, otherwise I'm happy to go through pieces of it.
This hadn't occurred to me until right now, but I'm thinking about what Mark Guillaume said, and I'm thinking about you saying it going into the general fund. Is there a reason why we're not creating a revolving fund for the funds to go into, or I'm not sure if that's the right type of fund,
Sure.
but to make sure that this money continues to be designated for this purpose, because I don't have trust in how mayors have been using the general fund.
Did it in Ways and Means.
Okay, so you are going to create a
We
revolving.
established a revolving fund.
Great, okay, because you said general fund, you said revolving fund. So
Yes,
will there
it's
be-
going into a revolving fund. It's not going into the general fund.
Great.
Is that
okay
something that needs to be codified in the ordinance?
It's, we talked about it in Ways and Means.
I didn't watch Ways and Means. I did watch Ways and Means the last couple of months, but I don't remember hers.
Yeah, because we had a whole, because Stephen sent us this whole thing about a specialized thing. Do you remember this?
I think you're talking about something different.
No, I'm not.
You sure?
This sounds like something to clarify.
It sets up a revolving fund. This doesn't have it specifically, but if you guys did something else.
I think you're talking.
I think we would, either way, we would want it to be in here because if this ordinance codifies money coming in from somewhere, it should codify where that money goes, because otherwise it will just go into the general fund by default.
So I'm trying to remember, like it was either Michael or the mayor, this question came up with, and one or the other, and I couldn't tell you, it's been about a year that we've been working on this. So I don't remember who said they didn't want a revolving fund, but it was one of the two of them.
Okay.
And so I don't know if either one of those has more, kind of weight to you than the other, but and again, I'm searching the back of my memory banks here. It was a meeting at a table. That could be any.
In a building.
I think it was with Michael Thoreau, but I don't recall specifically.
Okay.
I do not, I think frankly, so this version of the ordinance doesn't have the same level of income coming in as the previous one, because the administrative burden is frankly much less. It's effectively this, so talking about administrative burden, there are two components left without the mandatory inspections. You've got the registration, which occurs automatically as part of somebody's property tax bill. So effectively, administratively, there's very little that the health department's going to be doing. The second piece is any fines that are levied, and those again get attached to the property tax bills. And so I do not believe we need a revolving fund for this. And if that's what the committee wants, then great, we can do it. I'm not going to vote against it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a necessary element, at least in this version. I want to come back with the, full, kind of mandatory inspections piece. If you guys want to, see a revolving fund attached to that, because it's going to be more money, sure. I'm happy to take that in consideration. And when I'm trying to write that out, if it's able to happen, I'll happily put that in there. But I think with this version, it's fine to go the way it is, but that's again, where I'm at.
I think it would be prudent to have what's called a restricted fund.
Okay.
So that's what we did for the heavily taxed business. It's a restricted fund that is only for that purpose.
Yeah.
And since we're saying that the $30 per and all that money is for a very designated purpose, it's best to have it in a restricted fund.
I'm totally open to it. I just wonder if it would require us to do this again, to kind of go through the process. And I'm not sure about that. If it would, I'd be more inclined to just not and then tack it on with the promise kind of handshake that we do it. I have an eagerness to get this done. Again,
of course you do.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea, and if we're allowed to amend it without having to go through a second public hearing, then great. If, maybe we talk to Cammie and Kathy, and Quinn about it before Wednesday, but if that's the case and we can, put an amendment in here to restrict it, I'm all for it, but.
I painfully remember how exhausting it was to have a small child. So appreciate all the work you're doing, and I totally don't want this to be on your shoulders. longer. And I'm willing for the city to pay the cost of another public hearing in order to get this right. And I think that we need a different fund if it's within our jurisdiction. This question hasn't come to the committee while I've been on it of whether or not we have the jurisdiction to establish a revolving or restricted fund. But if we do, I want to make sure that it's in the first version. And if the mandatory, I'm not saying you have to do that work, but I think somebody needs to do that work because these funds have to be protected. And I don't believe in handshakes of this.
I will sign it in blood. I don't, you know, but if that's, by all means, you know, if it's next month, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think we should talk to the clerk's office and find out if it's possible to make such an amendment without it be considered a substantive change. And if it is, great. Otherwise, then we deal with it.
Yeah, and we have to have another public hearing. Like sometimes we'll have to have other public hearings because new information comes to light. Like some deep. What's the?
I don't understand why we can't do a friendly amendment to this right now.
Because we don't have the language.
It's not a
Because
motion.
what?
You don't have the specific language to add it. Like we could say we want a restricted fund, but we don't have the language to add it to the ordinance.
Sure, see it. I don't know. I don't think it would be that complicated. I mean, if you just added language, the fees will be restricted to the use of the health department or something like that, right? Like that's not that many words.
Do you know about this question? No.
But I agree with Councilor Garrett that if we would be very happy to have something which said all fees collected would be restricted to the use of the health department for the purposes of this ordinance, and that would take care of it.
She just said sounds great.
Tammy. Tammy can't hear that yet. What do other
We have to
people?
add that
I am
language here formally because like we're not voting on this right now anyway.
We're just voting to recommend it, and we would vote to recommend it with an
Are
amendment.
you voting? It's not a motion on our.
We have the ability if things are under you're right, it's under discussion. So we're not planning to vote on it, but we could. We have the power to vote on something.
Right.
But
Either way,
it's-
we could add we would add the language on Wednesday.
The thing is, we got the city council agendas at 4:30 or something. So I don't know, was this meant to be on the city council agenda?
It is on the agenda.
Okay, so then it should be under motions. I'm not saying this to you,
Yeah,
like you
it's not.
shouldn't have put it under motions. But, so it is on the city council agenda.
Correct.
So they're expecting us to vote on it, even though it's not under motions. Oh, I wasn't thinking that because it wasn't under motions. But we do have the ability to vote on something. Do you know what the language was when you established when that restricted fund was established?
Yes, it basically said that all funds collected would be deposited into separate, an account separate from the general fund, restricted for whatever use it was, and I can't remember what the restricted for, just a restricted fund for the purposes of enforcing this ordinance. Everything like that.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm scrambled right now, but.
So, yeah.
That's a tense question.
Yeah, sure. I just question if it has to be a specifically restricted fund, or if you just have to say that the funds that are being collected will be used specifically for the activities involved in the ordinance and so are restricted to the activities involved in this ordinance, so that you don't have to make a separate fund, but if it's collected, it has to be a part of, it has to be used this way.
Yeah,
Is there a way
I
to
don't think so.
enforce that?
No.
Yeah, I don't
There's
think
no way to enforce that.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Okay,
I think-
okay.
You have to be able to set, so X amount of money went in, X amount of money went out for what purpose?
Yeah.
It's very
It
clear.
has to be a line item.
Okay,
Which
that's
is
fine, that's fine.
revolving fund language and.
I could only remember what the hell it said.
We have time until Wednesday though.
Well, I was gonna say, we have to make this amendment on the floor on Wednesday either way,
Yeah, it
so
would be on the floor.
So we can
but
have it
would also,
for.
So we need language for
for
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
yes, we need language for Wednesday, and I would like to be able to say that this is coming forward with whatever recommendation is coming forward, plus the recommendation to make this amendment.
If it helps, I am writing out the sentence that we're suggesting is going forward. So far about all funds collected shall be deposited into an account separate from the general fund and restricted for the use of the health department such that it can enact the duties and activities as laid out in the ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that sounds fine.
Okay, ma,
We're
That's it.
happy.
call me Chef
We're
Larry.
happy.
Bravo.
Right.
I'm just thinking it through, sorry to be.
No, please, that's why I said.
The for the health department such that it can be used.
Shall be used, or such that
yeah,
they can
which-
enact the duties and activities as laid out in. this
Yeah, like
ordinance.
there's the shall, they shall use this, like, it's not just going to even the department, it's going to this purpose. I have a hard time thinking about words without touching a computer.
Touch it.
Hold on. All funds collected shall be deposited into an account separate from the general fund and restricted for the use. Restricted. This sounds so good. I'm just.
What's wrong with it? It's
No, I'm just like.
That's a good
something
attitude,
with
right?
it. I'm
Trust
gonna,
me.
maybe there's something wrong with it. Restricted for the use of the department, health department. In order to, such that it can, in order to enact the duties and activities as laid out. Is that okay? I know I'm being probably,
No,
it
that's-
doesn't matter, but. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
We have to run that language by
yeah, we need to run it.
authoritative anyway,
Yeah.
to make sure that it's
Well,
actually the right.
I'm giving this
That's
document to Tammy as the notes from the meeting, so we can have,
Thank you.
I'll leave a note that we can run this language by.
Can you put urgent for Attorney Quinn?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Okay, good.
so is there more discussion? I mean, I think it's really, is there anything else that you would like to say to address the concerns of the landlords that were here?
Trying to remember everything he said. I mean, I guess something else I should say. I met with Mark Vacchio and the mayor, so we sat down and some of his concerns, I did make changes in this ordinance that were directly from the conversations I had with him. So for example, there's an exemption for Section 8 housing having to complete self-inspection forms. That's because there's a very substantial regime of inspections by, I believe it's federal housing authority, it might be the state housing authority.
It's actually, it's GHA does the
Okay.
inspections.
Yeah, so it would be duplicative, and he made that point. It's like, that was a good point. And there's some other points he made that are more relevant to the that kind of general inspection piece that isn't in here, that I can address if and when we get to that point. So this is not a substantial burden. The way it is structured, a lot of it is self-executing. This is not a radical idea. The town of South Hadley is where most of this ordinance came from. And the town of South Hadley is not like a communist paradise. Like they voted, I'm just saying. Yeah, no. And so the structure here is very prudent. The system as it is designed does not work. I guess I'll tell you just a brief. Part of the reason I wanted to be involved with this is I was working with somebody who lived on Route 5 and 10 next to one of our notorious slumlords apartments. He was not a tenant of the slumlord, but he was a neighbor. And this person had destroyed his fence, had dumped garbage on his lawn, not once, but twice, three times. He had gone and compiled, this neighbor of this landlord, a list of the number of times this person had gone to court and the fines that were levied and the actions that were not taken by the courts. So anybody who says the system is working is not suffering under the system, and so it really is not an acceptable status quo that we're living in. And I have the phone numbers of at least a half a dozen people who spoke to me about their conditions with the promise that I would never tell anybody in the health department about them because they're afraid of retaliation. And so that is real. And if you don't see it, because you're a really good landlord, and a lot of the folks in this room are not the problem. And and that's what I've said to many of these folks and folks that aren't in the room. Like, we have some great landlords in the city who are doing tremendous work. And the goal of this is not to make their lives harder. I'm gonna do my history teacher thing for a second, I apologize, but Federalist 51, which is about the checks and balances in the federal government. If all men were angels, no government would be necessary. All men are not angels. And some of them have vanity plates about what terrible people they are. And they drive around the city, and again, I won't get more explicit than that, but it is, again, the status quo is not acceptable. There's black mold, there are apartments that have been illegally carved up into units. Part of what Susan and Sarah did last year was count the meters because there were a number of units that were illegally in buildings in unacceptable conditions. So we need to do something. And part of what I really like about how this is structured, so that it's effectively, it creates an opportunity for landlords to be honest. So you have a self-inspection form. You say the conditions of your units. You lie about it, and we can do something about that. Or you don't register, we can do something about that. And so there's, and then the other piece of that is you don't have to go through the courts. I mean, obviously there's due process. There's lots of due process in this. If a landlord doesn't like a determination made by the Board of Health, they have X number of days to appeal. And if they don't like what the Board of Health says, then they can go to the courts. So all the pre-existing structures are there. But if, violations are found, again, right in the property tax bill. And so it makes it administratively really easy for the city to do something. Yes, sir.
Oh, no, I'm just whenever you're done. Oh, great. Sorry.
I could go on forever.
I just wanted to, something that really stuck with me was the comparison of like running this business to what a McDonald's has to report. And that like if McDonald's was providing like a primary resource, then it would be an apropos comparison, but it's not. And so I think I've talked to some of these people in other realms, and I know the clear divide is like housing is a business versus housing is a human right here. And like, full stop, like you're going to have to do more if you're going to be the provider of someone's life. And for the record, the room, the recorder, whoever, like, there is an inherent power dynamic in someone providing you housing that could sell your house at any moment, that could say, I want to move in at any moment, that my mother-in-law needs to move in. Like, that's just an inherent power structure that creates problems. Thank you.
Thank you. As a former landlord, which I was in Boston, this is not a super heavy duty burden. This is part of doing business. And that's part of the reason that we tried to make it on the level that it is. This is, I understand they don't want to do more paperwork. I get that. But the fact is, if it's part of doing business, it will be done. And I've been on so many porches where I was afraid my foot was going to go through the floor. This is not extraordinary effort. This is basic human dignity. And what we're trying to do is ensure that the city has the tools to be able to make sure that everybody has that, and that the burden to make sure that dignity happens does not fall on the shoulders of the person who is being attacked by this indignity. Yeah.
We actually have one more thing that just came to mind to address some of what the landlords were saying. As far as like pro-business climate, we are in just get my language correct here. If you're a tenant, it is a seller's market. There is not enough housing at all, and there isn't going to be for a long time. All the efforts we've been doing as a city to try to address the housing crisis are going to take years to make a dent in the problem. And one of the issues, we just had a huge campaign last year about the Hope Street lot. And a lot of the critiques from the community, well, giant, slumlords are going to come in and any new apartments are going to be a disaster. And, therefore we should build nothing. And that's a reductive, and I'm sure that anybody who made those arguments, and I'm not trying to paint a broad brush, but there was part of the other thought about this. It's valid to criticize people who treat their tenants like garbage. And it is valid to be skeptical of developers. And it's valid to be afraid of change in your community when you've seen change cause problems. And I want to respect the people that frankly disagreed with me and many other folks in this room in the campaign about the Hope Street lot by trying to deal with those concerns. We are public servants. Our job is to serve the entire city. And I view this in part as serving the entire city, including the people that vehemently disagree with us about the need to be pro-development, which I think we need to be. We need to be both. We need to protect the tenants and we need to make it easier to build more housing. So I think it's a moral kind of piece too.
So thank you. Is there any other discussion from the committee?
I had one more thought.
Sure.
I, for some reason, find it really interesting to look at the residential logs and the recorder. And I've noticed that most weeks, people are selling their houses in Greenfield to LLCs. And so that just feels like there's nobody's afraid, nothing bad is going to happen. People are still doing business to be in business of landlording, regardless of what's on the table.
Yeah, I want to keep the discussion. Yeah, we veer into public, giving you more public comment time, and I'm hesitant to do that, and I appreciate the work that you've done. So, yeah.
I guess my only comment is, I just really appreciate all of this. I was concerned to see the mandatory inspection part come out. I like the version of this that has more teeth and funding implications. Yeah. And I appreciate hearing that it's going to come back. I totally trust you. And I think that all the points that you both just made are and about responding to the landlord's concerns and the fact that it's not the landlords in this room who come to us with these concerns that are actually the ones that are being targeted here. And there's a regulatory over-inclusiveness problem that applies to all aspects of government, as you said. It's just a fundamental truth that we have to regulate everybody to target the people who are behaving really poorly. And that's a bummer. And especially in this form, this doesn't constitute a big burden on landlords. And I understand why they don't want it, but yeah, so I'm happy to have this go forward, and I'm glad to hear that the tighter piece will come back again for consideration.
The request I would make with that, if it is possible, is for it to be added onto the existing ordinance, if that's possible.
Yes, that's a con dealer tag sale. Absolute block.
We have so many ordinances that should be part of the same.
Absolutely.
I can tell you in the letter that it would be section G.
Okay, thank you. Keep it, yeah. Any other discussion? No? Okay. All right. All those in favor of recommending this go forward with a favorable recommend? No, we do everything.
And is that okay to do without it being a motion on the agenda?
Yes, okay. It's absolutely okay. We've done it multiple times before. That is okay.
Cool.
It was regardless, there was administrative error. That doesn't, we totally can make a motion when we feel ready to pass something forward. Would somebody like to, how am I going to state this? I haven't had at this point, I don't recall, there's an amendment to this. So can you propose the amendment first, and then we will vote to recommend the whole thing going forward? So,
motion to amend the language of the rental registry ordinance to include what I wrote down here. I don't know.
Say it again.
All funds collected shall be deposited into an account separate from the general fund and restricted for the use of the health department in order to enact the duties and activities as laid out in this ordinance.
Second. Any discussion about the amendment? No? All those in favor of recommending the amendment? Aye. Okay. Any other discussion on the whole motion? Okay. So all those in favor of recommending favorably the motion, the language plus the amendment.
We technically need a second for that motion.
Yeah, we would just.
Yeah, second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'll be back.
Keep on coming back.
I'm just liking us so.
We just like talking to you so much that
It's just our,
it's your time.
See some of you
another
tomorrow.
meeting.
And also Wednesday.
Yay. All right, the next agenda item is when our next meeting is happening. The item is the next meeting. My son just decided he's going to college a week early, and I will be in Pennsylvania that day. And so I am debating whether I emailed the clerk's office to do this, but I want to share this with you. We have three options. Someone else could facilitate. We could move it to another day, or we could just not do August. And I'm wondering if people know off the top of their heads if you all have their calendars on the top of your heads, or if you would prefer for this to go through the clerk's office. Yeah.
We had talked about moving them to Thursdays. When was that gonna be?
But we didn't hear, did we hear back about that?
She sent a
we
whole
didn't
thing.
want to have it the same night
Yeah.
as the
Right,
school
but
committee.
that's what I'm saying. We
Yeah.
talked about it, but then this is, the 12th is a Wednesday.
And we had said, how about the second, if I'm recalling correctly, we
Right,
said,
the
what about
second
the second
Thursday.
Thursday? And we asked Tammy, right, to find out if that room was available. Are
Oh, in the
you,
library room, yeah.
yeah. And then,
I'm not sure that we've heard.
Well, she sent a final, she's like, this is the 2027, whatever, end of 2026. And I didn't even think twice about it, but it was all the same.
Yeah, it
I
wasn't
didn't
correct.
change anything.
So we should check with Tammy about the night.
so if the ninth, so if August 13th was available, would you all be able to attend that? We did talk about, no.
I can't attend anything that week. I'm hopefully gonna be on a river far away from cell phone reception.
Could,
August 13th?
yes, or August 6th, 17th.
Oh, the 7th, the Monday.
It's a Thursday?
That conflicts with community relations.
It does,
I
okay.
mean, I suppose this does, no.
No, the committee can't get.
Calendars are weird.
So I've said Thursday, the 13th, or Monday, the 17th. If Monday, the 17th conflicts with community relations, we can't do that. So Thursday, the 13th. Would you be able to, you said, yeah, would you,
Fine.
yeah? Okay. All right, so
This is just the three of us then, because you two will be,
right, or
you will be there.
I can be there that day. I can't be there the 12th. We're driving back from Pennsylvania. So
The Thursday at whatever time.
So Thursday, the 13th, so we'll await further response from Tammy.
So I have, please confirm Thursday, August 13th, the next A&L meeting at
Wherever is available.
at wherever is available.
I mean, ideally, I like to read around a table. This is a different dynamic, but wherever is available. Right. To let us all know if that's possible.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel like actually being able to see.
When there's
Public
people here,
more.
yeah, this is, but they're not typically here, so.
No, yeah.
It's typically-
They're
I just-
here too.
This was totally appropriate.
Thank you
for
both
today.
for remaining
Yeah,
in the
this is-
room.
I want you to feel alone. up
You're-
there.
Thank you. This
You're
is-
representing all of Greenfield right now.
Robert's rules asks that you stay till the end.
Well done.
So this was good for tonight. It's just not, this is not a typical. So, I believe we are done, but I first need to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
Great.
Great. Thank you.
You
Thanks
all
for staying.
attending. I, is anyone?